a WikiVidi documentaries production. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Enjoy. Montserrat Caballé. Maria de Montserrat Viviana Concepción Caballé y Folch OAXS OMIR was a Spanish operatic soprano. She sang a wide variety of roles, but is best known as an exponent of the works of Verdi and of the bel canto repertoire, notably the works of Rossini, Bellini, and Donizetti. She was noticed internationally when she stepped in for a performance of Donizetti's Lucrezia Borgia at Carnegie Hall in 1965, and then appeared at leading opera houses. Her voice was described as pure, but powerful, with superb control of vocal shadings and exquisite pianissimo. Caballé became popular to non-classical music audiences in 1987, when she recorded, at the request of the IOC, Barcelona, a duet with Freddie Mercury, which became an official theme song for the 1992 Olympic Games. She received several international awards, and also Grammy Awards for a number of her recordings. Early life and career. Caballé was born in Barcelona on the 12th of April 1933. Her family was of humble financial circumstances due to the Civil War. She studied music at the Liceu Conservatory, and singing technique with Napoleone Anna Varzi, Eugenia Kemeny and Conchita Badia. She graduated with a gold medal in 1954. She subsequently moved to Basel, Switzerland, where she made her professional debut in 1956 as Mimi in Puccini's La Bohème. She became part of the Basel Opera Company between 1957 and 1959, singing a repertoire that included Mozart and Strauss in German, unusual for Spanish singers, but which proved useful for her next engagement at the Bremen Opera. In 1961, she starred as Iphigenie and Gluck's Iphigenie Entoride at the National Theatre of S. Carlos in Lisbon, alongside Jean Cox, Paul Scherfler, and others. In 1962, Caballé returned to Barcelona and debuted at the Liceu, singing the title role in Strauss' Sarabella. From the fall of 1962 through the spring of 1963 she toured Mexico, at one point singing the title role in Massenet's Manon at the Palacio de Bellas Artes. This was followed by several more successful appearances at the Liceu in 1963. Success. Caball's international breakthrough came in 1965 when she replaced an indisposed Marilyn Horne in a semi-staged performance of Donizetti's Lucrezia Borgia at New York's Carnegie Hall, which earned her a 25-minute standing ovation. While this was her first engagement in a bel canto opera and she had to learn the role in less than 1 month, her performance made her famous throughout the opera world. Later that year, Caballé made her debut at the Glyndebourne Festival singing her first Marschallin in Richard Strauss' Der Rosenkavalier and portraying the role of Countess Almaviva in Mozart's La Nozze di Figaro. In December 1965, she returned to Carnegie Hall for her second bel canto opera, singing the role of Queen Elizabeth I in Donizetti's recently rediscovered Roberto Devereux. Caballé closed out the year with her Metropolitan Opera debut on the 22nd of December 1965, appearing as Marguerite in Gounod's Faust alongside John Alexander in the title role, Justino Diaz as Mephistopheles, and Cheryl Milnes as Valentin in his debut at the Met. In 1966, Caballé made her first appearance with the Philadelphia Lyric Opera Company as Maddalena di Coigny and Giordano Sandria Chenier, and her Italian debut at the Maggio Musicale Fiorentino as Leonora in Verdi's Il Trovatore, followed by Bellini's Il Pirata in 1967. She returned to Philadelphia in 1967 to sing the title roles in Puccini's Tosca and Madama Butterfly, and to the Met to sing 3 Verdi heroines, Leonora alongside Richard Tucker as Manrico, Desdemona in Otello with James McCracken in the title role, and Violetto in La Traviata, with Tucker and George Shirley alternating as Alfredo. The last role in particular garnered her further acclaim among American critics and audiences. She returned to the Met the following year in the title role in Verdi's Louisa Miller, and in 1969 for the role of Liu in Puccini's Turandot, with Birgit Nielsen in the title role and James King as Caliph. She also returned to Philadelphia as Imogen in Bellini's Il Pirata and Lucrezia Borgia. In 1969, Caballé appeared at the Arena di Verona in a Jean Vilar production of Verdi's Don Carlo. She was Elisabetta Valois in an all-star cast including Placido Domingo and Piero Capochilli. Her high beyond the final seal at the end of the opera lasted more than 20 bars up to the final chord from the orchestra. In these performances she had to act on crutches because of an accident earlier that year in New York City. In the same period she also appeared in recital at the Teatro Corallo in Verona. In 1970, Caballé made her official debut at La Scala in the title role of Lucrezia Borgia. She appeared as Leonora in Philadelphia and returned to the Met as Emilia in a critically acclaimed production of Verdi's Un ballo in Maschera with Domingo as Riccardo and Reri Grist as Oscar. In 1972, she made her first appearances at Covent Garden and the Lyric Opera of Chicago, both in the role of Violetta. That same year she returned to the Met as Elisabetta in Don Carlo with Franco Corelli in the title role, and sang the title role of Bellini's Norma in Philadelphia. In 1973 she returned to Chicago to perform the title role in Donizetti's Maria Stuarda with Viorica Cortez, appeared as Violetta in Philadelphia. She performed at the Met as Bellini's Norma, opposite Carlo Cosuta in his Met debut as Polione and Fiorenzo Cosotto as Adalgisa. In 1974, Caballé appeared in the title role of Verdi's Aida at the Liceo in January, in Verdi's I Vespri Siciliani at the Met in March, and in Pero Sina d'Este at Carnegie Hall, also in March. She appeared as Norma at the Bolshoi Theatre in Moscow and in Adriana Lecouvreur at La Scala in April. She was filmed as Norma in Orange in July by Pierre Audin. She recorded Aida with Riccardo Muti in July and made a recording of duets with Giuseppe Di Stefano in August. In September 1974, she underwent major surgery to remove a large benign mass from her abdomen. She recovered and was performing again on stage by early 1975. In 1976 Caballé appeared at the Met once again as Norma and sang her first Aida in that house, alongside Robert Nogues Radames and Marilyn Horne as Amneris. She appeared in the title role of Ariadne auf Naxos by Richard Strauss, and sang Mimi in Puccini's La Bohème with Luciano Pavarotti as Rodolfo. In 1977 Caballé made her debut with the San Francisco Opera in the title role of Puccini's Turandot. She returned to that house 10 more times over the next decade in such roles as Elvira in Verdi's Hernani and the title roles in Ponchielli's La Gioconda, Rossini's Semiramide, and Puccini's Tosca, among others. Having lost some of her earlier brilliance and purity of voice, Caballé offered more dramatic expressive singing in roles that demanded it. In 1978, she was Tosca in San Francisco with Pavarotti, Norma in Madrid, and Adriana Lecouvreur at the Met opposite Carreras. She continued to appear often at the Met during the 1980s, in roles such as Tosca and Elisabetta, and also sang concerts in 1981 and 1983. Her final performance at the Met was on 10 October 1985 in Tosca with Pavarotti as Cavaradossi and Cornell McNeil as Scarpia. Her voice was noted for its purity, precise control, and power. She was admired less for her dramatic instincts and acting skills than for her superb technique, vocal shadings, and exquisite pianissimos, which were inspired by Miguel Fleta. Later years. In Bellini's Norma, Caballé recorded both the title role and later the role of Adalgisa to Joan Sutherland's Norma in a 1984 Decca recording conducted by Richard Bonning. Although Bellini conceived the role of Adalgisa originally for a soprano, it is usually now sung by a mezzo-soprano. Caballé was one of few sopranos to have recorded the role, although she was over 50 years old at the time of the recording in 1984. In 1987, Caballé made a rare excursion into the world of pop music when she released a duet with Freddie Mercury, the lead singer of the rock band Queen, which was titled Barcelona. The song was inspired by Caball's home city and later used as one of the 2 official theme songs for the 1992 Olympic Games. Mercury was a great admirer of Caballé, considering her voice to be the best in the world. The single was followed by an album of the same name which was released the following year, and featured further collaborations between the 2 performers. The title track later became the anthem of the 1992 Summer Olympics, which was hosted by Caball's native city, and appeared again in the pop music charts throughout Europe. Caballé also performed the song Live, accompanied by a recording by Mercury, who had died in 1991, before the 1999 UEFA Champions League football final in Barcelona's Camp Nou stadium. In 1994, writing for The Independent, Fiammetta Rocco said, "Caballé is one of the last of the true divas. Callas is dead. Chiarite Carnawa is busy making commercials for Sainsbury's, and Mirella Freni has never really risen out of the narrow confines of being an opera lover's opera singer." Caballé, on the other hand, has always had an enormous following, and it's still with her today. In 1995 she worked with Vangelis for his album El Greco, dedicated to the Greek painter. In 1997, Mike Moran produced the album Friends for Life, which includes duets with Caballé and such singers as Bruce Dickinson, Johnny Halliday, Johnny Logan, Gino Vanelli, and Helmut Lotti. Caballé dedicated herself to various charities. She was a UNESCO Goodwill Ambassador and established a foundation for needy children in Barcelona. In 2003, she starred in her own documentary film Caballé, Beyond Music, which featured many well-known opera singers, including Domingo, Pavarotti, Carreras, and Renee Fleming. In 2002, she appeared as Catherine of Aragon in Henri VIII by Saint-Saëns, and in 2004 in the title role of Massenet's Cleopatra, both at the Liceu. She appeared as the Duchess of Krakenthorpe in Donizetti's La Fille du Régiment at the Vienna State Opera in April 2007. In 2003, Patrick O'Connor wrote in Gramophone that on the 6th of June 2013, Caballé was declared persona non grata in Azerbaijan after visiting, despite official warnings issued by the Azerbaijani embassy in Spain, the de facto independent state Nagorno-Karabakh, and meeting with local leaders. Tax evasion. In 2015, Caballé was under prosecution over allegations of tax evasion or fraud. She admitted that despite living in Spain in 2010, she had registered in Andorra in order to avoid paying tax in Spain. In December 2015, the Spanish court found her guilty of fraud and gave her a 6-month suspended jail sentence, ordering her to pay a fine of €254,231. She was also banned from receiving any public subsidies for a period of 18 months. Health problems and death. On the 20th of October 2012, during her tour in Russia, Caballé suffered a stroke in Yekaterinburg and was quickly transferred to the Hospital de Sant Pau in Barcelona. In September 2018, she was admitted to the same hospital for a gallbladder problem. She died there on the 6th of October 2018 at the age of 85. The cause of death was not given. Felipe VI of Spain described Caballé as the best of the best, and Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez called her the great ambassador of Spain. Recordings. Caballé recorded extensively throughout her long career and made many notable recordings of complete operas as well as recital albums. After a number of recordings early in her career for RCA Victor Red Seal, Caballé also recorded for EMI, Decca, and Philips among other labels. She left a vast discography of her major roles, including Aida, conducted by Riccardo Muti, Elisabetta and Don Carlo conducted by Carlo Maria Gelini, Fiordiligi and Mozart's Così fan tutti with Colin Davis, Liu and Turandot alongside Joan Sutherland and Domingo, conducted by Zubin Mehta, and Salome with Eric Leinsdorf. She recorded many bel canto and Rossini roles. Recital recordings include a Puccini collection with Charles Mackerras, a Strauss collection with Leonard Bernstein, and duets with Shirley Verrett. She performed the soprano solo in Verdi's Requiem with John Barbaroli. Brought to you by WikiVidi Documentaries. Would you like to know more?